Well, the amount of the page count and like amount I actually read this month is actually pretty high, although it's definitely lower in book count. So this might be kind of a quick one, but let's talk about everything I read in June. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be doing my June monthly wrap-up and tying to everything that I read this month. Now this was a very heavy January Words month because if you didn't see, I made a video saying I was just going to kind of focus on Words of Light and Shadow and be binging that series. So I had some things I finished up early in the month, and then though I've been doing both physical and ebook combinations so that I'm really devoting my time to the Words of Light and Shadow, so we'll talk about how I've done there. I have also still gotten some other books in with audio because that was another format that I could use, and so that way I still had some things going on. So let's talk though. So first off, right at the beginning of June, I was finishing Grand Conspiracy, which is, of course, Words of Light and Shadow. This is the second book in the Alliance of Light, and I had just finished this like right at the early beginning of the month for a live show, and this one just, it sets up so much really, really great stuff. I will say, I'm not going to say a ton about each one of these books as I go through and talk about them, because I just actually did a video kind of completely spoiler-free talking about my experience with the series so far, and kind of talking about a little bit about what each book does in a non-spoiler fashion. So if you want to know more about that, definitely check that out here. And then I also was finishing the last Beast Hunters book that's out right now, Beast Hunters Blood Oath by Christopher Lendy, which was really enjoyable too. So there are going to be more books in that world than kind of the series, but that did function really as a trilogy and was an enjoyable one that I liked as well. I did do a video about the trilogy as a whole, because that was one I decided to binge last month because they were kind of shorter, and so I read them pretty close together, but really interesting and really unique, and not quite what I expected immediately with just being Beast Hunter. There was a lot more that went into it, but really cool. Kind of had like a video game feel, where I could just imagine it being like, I could imagine it being playable as a video game and it would work, which I have another one with similar comments coming up here as well. And then on audio I did High Fire by Owen Colfer, which was not great. I didn't have super high expectations because I was curious, because this is supposed to be his foray into writing an adult fantasy book. And no, this was still a very, kids book YA with just some darker content thrown in, which doesn't automatically make it adult. And so wasn't super impressed with it, but I do have a review on that if you want to hear more about that as well. For SPSFC, I don't have a lot of updates because I have not yet gotten to all of the books that we're supposed to read for this last round. The ones that I did do is Night Music, which was a DNF. It just did not work for me at all. I thought the concept was really interesting, but the dialogue was really odd, and just the whole thing felt extremely dated, and is supposed to take place in the future. And it just simply was not working for me at all. So that one was a DNF. And then I did do For Those Left Behind, or I think it's just Those Left Behind, by NC Scrimgeour, which I'm probably saying wrong, which I did a review for this one. And it was really interesting. It felt like it got a little muddled at points and wasn't the most cohesive, but like the core concept is super cool, where there's like there's this like central hub where these species, including humans, are from, and then as offshoots that are elsewhere advanced, they find these kind of gateways that they then go through and then end up there, and nobody knows why or who made it. So it gave me some kind of Stargate vibes with a ton of other stuff going on. So definitely one that I enjoyed overall. I had some issues, but it was good, and I'm really curious to see what the second book will be like on that one. Jumping back in then to some Words of Light and Shadow. The next Words of Light and Shadow book that I had was Peril's Gate, and this is a big boy. This one is not quite as long as the combo of Ships of Merrier hardcover, but it is like 700-ish pages, and so this is a big one. This one took a while, and this was a good chunk of my physical reading, was this one, and then the next one. but also just, oh my gosh, what a phenomenal book. Really the pivotal moment in the series, and then I'll talk about the next book here really shortly. After that, though, I did read The Gallant, which is a short that's set in the same world. It's like 600 years before the events of the first book, and that was kind of just a stop break point. And it also just showed some really cool background and more information in the world. I do have a video also about that if you're interested in hearing about a kind of potential way to, just dip your toe in, see what you think of the writing style of the world before committing to the series. I have and will probably have a lot of Wars and Light and Shadow content there. But so I read that one and really enjoyed it. And then on the audio front next, I did Coraline by Neil Gaiman. And it, of course, narrated by Neil Gaiman as well. In this, I actually ended up listening to all on a Sunday afternoon while I was working on some stuff and just had it on. And I did a review for this one as well, and this was odd. And I know Coraline is one of the kind of more younger reader types of books, but Gaiman has a way of just making it kind of, I feel like, work for all ages. And so it was really interesting. It has me really curious to see the movie too, because I've never actually seen it. I didn't really have a lot of interest, but I'm curious now. I like to always watch the movies after I read his books, because he's got several that have been adapted, and it kind of depends on which I like more. But there was that. And then Worldbinder by David Farland, which is book 6 of the Rune Lords, and this is a nifty cover here. With it. But so this one was this is the shortest of the series so far. And despite that, oh my gosh, the amount of things that happen here, this is kind of where, and I've heard some people say things go a little off the rails in the back half of this series. And I mean, like, it does, but in a way that actually makes a lot of sense. So I'm still having a really good time. I did do this one on audio. I have the physical copy, but I just did the whole thing audio. Ray Porter narrates. He does a fantastic job, and so I've done a lot of audio for the series just because his narration is so great. But yeah, things are really, like, the stakes are so much higher. There's so much more going on. And I'm just really fascinated to see where this goes and what more is going to happen, because the things that the author has done in this kind of like second part of the series, I feel like very few people would do this or be able to do it successfully. So I can see why it doesn't work for everyone, but just it is crazy, and I'm still having a great time. Next up then was Trader's Knot, which is the fourth book at Alliance of Light, second to last. And this looks like it's not that big of a book, but it's got the text is closer to what you'd find in like a paperback. So it's still decently long. But what I want to mention is this is so blisteringly fast paced. It is just like, oh my gosh, crazy. How quickly this went for me. I really do like the art as well, and I can't remember if I showed this in another video, but you have some really nice art, including there's color picture here, and then you actually get to, there's the normal maps, but each chapter has a full page illustration. It's usually maps or other bits, but I thought that was so awesome. So that made me really happy. This is a slightly different size than some of mine, but I'm really happy that I have this version from this publisher, because really cool going through this and seeing all of the different parts. But yeah, pace is just insane on that one, like I said. And that brings us to the last book of the Alliance of Light. Before I get into the last two books, which are the next arc, which is Storm Fortress, which I've primarily been reading on my Kindle, because I don't like, it's bigger than a mass market paperback, but I prefer bigger books. So I've been mostly doing Kindle for this one. I got that hiding over here. But I'm about 30% into this, and you're probably saying, that's not a good place to be if you're aware that I'm also doing a readathon. And no, not really. So I'm going to have to finish this. It's definitely going to slow me down a little bit, but I'm going to be working on finishing that hopefully soon, and then get started. And then I also am working on finishing up the audio that I'm doing right now, which is Black Talon, which is by Jamie Castle and Andy Peliquin, which I'm probably saying that wrong too, but anyway, and this one was a random one. I didn't have an audio, and I've actually been going through audio slower because I've been devoting most of my time to physical and Kindle, but there are times where I can't physically read and that I like to have an audiobook, so I've just been getting through some. But Black Talon, it's narrated by Michael Kramer and Kate Redding, and immediately kind of hooked me and has an interesting premise. It's a Dragon Blood assassin novel, and we follow two different POVs, which is Cullen and Natisse, and it's male and female POVs narrated by Michael Kramer and Kate Redding. And then I'm wondering if because as to the two authors, if they each wrote one of the POVs, because the POVs do feel very unique, and having they're intertwined for sure, like it's all connected in the book, but they're two very different POVs and very different situations, but have some similarities. And seeing the way that they've intertwined, I'm trying to be kind of vague right now because I'm definitely going to do a review for this when I talk about it more. But so far it's been really, really cool, really interesting, and this is definitely a series that I will be continuing, which that's almost a bad thing because that means it's another series I'll have to get to, but I'll probably keep going with the audio because the audio's been really, really good with this. The beginning, it just reminded me of like old school Wheel of Time Michael Kramer, and I'm just like immediately I'm like okay, all right. And then the story and the elements there, the kind of the magic, the lack of explanation, while leaving a little mysterious, works I think really well here too. So this has been a fun one also. So we'll have more to go on that. So I'm going to be finishing those two, and then immediately starting on readathon prompts for the readathon. I will have later this week my late readathon TBR for the Battle of the Decades over on Jake the Bookish Drummer channel readathon that I did announce before previously. So that should be out Wednesday. So 2 days after this with all that I'm going to be reading, but since I still have some Wars of Light and Shadow books, it's going to be a little slow going, but we'll try to hopefully push through and have all that going as well. But that is it for June. Like I said, if you want to see all the things I'm planning to hopefully read in July, that'll be coming soon. But for this one, make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Duo Discord if you want to chat books. Whether any of these books, other books, anything at all, really, it's a lot of fun, and we would love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.